Now we are going to continue with the key facts about neuroanatomy. The next part that we are going to move on is neural pathway and spinal cord tracts. Neural pathways are organized bundles of axons connecting a specific part of the gray matter with a target tissue. There are two types of pathways, that is ascending, descending. Ascending, that is afferent and sensory, and descending contains efferent and motor. Ascending pathways send information from peripheral tissues and transmit it to the CNS. The CNS interprets this information so that the brain knows what's going on in it and around the body. Descending pathways, on the other hand, transmits information from the CNS to the peripheral tissues. These define how the body will respond. So if you feel that some part of your skin itches, it's afferent. You can respond by scratching it, which is efferent. So the nervous system is made up of vast neural networks. Signaling within these circuits enables thinking, language, feeling, learning, memory, and all functions and sensations. It is well established that through plasticity of existing cells, our nervous system can adapt to situations not previously encountered, but it also has been shown that cells are plastic and involved in creating new connections in adaptation and response to injury. Well, the nervous system has basically three specific functions. First one is sensory input. So sensory receptors present in the skin and organs respond to external and internal stimuli by generating nerve impulses, that to the central nervous system. Integration. The brain and spinal cord of the central nervous system combine and sum up all the data received from the body and send out nerve impulses. Then the third one is motor output. The nerve impulses from the central nervous system go to the effectors, that is muscles and glands. Muscle contractions and gland secretion are responses to stimuli received by sensory receptors. About neurons, we have already discussed in the previous lecture. That is, the cell body contains the nucleus and surrounding cytoplasm. It is the focus of the cell metabolism process, housing the mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, and peroxisomes. The dendrites are neuronal processes that taper from the cell body outwards. They produce many branches and transmit information towards the cell body from synapses on the dendritic tree. Their primary role is to increase the surface area for synapse formation, allowing a great number of synapses to integrate together. There is only one axon per neuron, originates at the axon hillock, conducting information away from the cell body towards the nerve terminal and synapses. It can, however, branch to produce several processes. The initial segment of the axon, as it emerges from the cell body, is the most excitable part of neuron because it has a high density of sodium channels at this point. Therefore, it is at this point that the action potential is generated. Many axons are surrounded by myelin sheath. The synapse is the junction where the neurons meet another cell. In the SNS, this will be another neuron. In the PNS, we have Schwann cells, found only in PNS, responsible for myelination of the peripheral nerves by wrapping the cells around the axons. Then we come to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus lies on either side of third ventricle, below the thalamus and between the optic chiasm and the midbrain. It receives a large input from limbic structures. It has a significantly large efferent output to the ANS and has a highly significant role in control of pituitary endocrine functions. The hypothalamus, as well as inputting the ANS also has a large part to play in the homeostasis of many physiological systems such as hunger, thirst, water and sodium balance, and temperature regulation. It also plays a role in memory and emotional responses, providing autonomic and endocrine responses. It also plays a role in control of retinal inputs, etc. There may be also hypothalamus inputs into sexual and emotional behavior independent of its endocrine role. If we talk about limbic system, this refers to a number of areas within the brain lying mainly on the medial side of the temporal lobe. The limbic system provides high-level processing of input information, of sensory information. The main outflow of the limbic system is to the prefrontal cortex and the hypothalamus, as well as to the cortical areas. It appears to have a role in attaching behavioral significance and response to a given stimulus. Brainstem we have already discussed. Brainstem is made up of part of the brain that begins at the foramen magnum. It extends to the cerebral peduncles and thalamus. It consists of medulla, pons, and midbrain. The blood supply to the spinal cord is by single anterior spinal artery and paired posterior spinal arteries.